Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me once again, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we're going to be talking all about the new Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster. Cameron's been playing that a little bit. I played South of Midnight, finally, caught up that. And then both of us have hopped into Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Cameron is well far ahead of me. I've only got about a night's worth, or like about a day's worth of gameplay thus far. But we'll talk a little bit about our first impressions on that game as well. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So Cam, real quick thoughts. Kick us off with Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster. What did you like? What's your relationship to the original game? How much have you put into the remaster here, and what are your thoughts?
Sure. I played the original Oblivion after for a period of time, and just some background here. For a period of time, I did not make the initial leap into the PS3, Xbox 360 era of gaming for several years. I was still on PS2. I did not make that leap for many, many years just due to the fact that they were just so expensive.
Sure.
It went from being you could buy a used PS2 from like Blockbuster for like $100 to all of a sudden these $300-$400 consoles. And it was a big step up. And so it wasn't until I was working like pretty much full time at my family's restaurant that I was making minimum wage at that I was like, hey, I have a couple $100. Should I do a PS3 or a 360? And talking to one of my coworkers who ended up becoming a future co-host on a podcast with me, Chandler. Chandler's the one who told me, he goes, you want to get a 360? He goes, I have so many 360 games you can borrow from me. So you don't even need to worry about buying games right away. And I was like, okay, cool. I bought the orange box, and like a couple other things, DMC 4, like a couple other games that I knew he didn't have. And then one of the games he told me, he goes, well, do you like RPG? I was like, yeah, I like RPG. He goes, have you ever played Elder Scrolls? I was like, no, I haven't. And so he let me borrow Oblivion. And, I don't want to say Oblivion was like a game changer for me, but it was a pretty cool game to like get into. I found the lore of Elder Scrolls to be incredible. A lot of the lore of the world is very immersive in Oblivion. But it didn't hook me really strongly. I'm like, it's cool, but I felt like I have feelings about the story overall, and I didn't really engage with too many of the other factions, and I was borrowing it, and I gave it back to him after I beat it. And it was cool, but it wasn't like game changing for me. It wasn't like this big like mental breakthrough of like, oh my gosh, this game is incredible. Like that wouldn't come till Skyrim.
Yeah, that's for me. Just kind of weighing in with my own history there. So when I won my original Xbox at my high school graduation, one of the games it came with was like the greatest hits version of Morrowind. And I tried playing Morrowind. I could never get into it. I never put probably more than an hour into it. Like I would do character creation, and then when it was like, all right, go and do whatever, I was like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And what to do. And so I just kind of like bounced off it pretty quickly. I didn't really try Oblivion until Skyrim. Like Skyrim came out, and I gave that a shot on PC in college and had a blast with Skyrim. Put a few hundred hours into it, and I was like, okay, let me see how Oblivion plays. Picked it up on my PS3, which was the wrong system to pick it up on, as were many Bethesda games of that era, and played a little bit of it. But yeah, just it was such a giant step backwards in terms of like the progression and systems that I liked of Skyrim.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't want to go back and play this game, and also it ran like shit on the PS3. So yeah, I bounced off it pretty quickly, and I tried to go back to it once or twice over the years, and just never stuck. So yeah, that's kind of my personal experience. Like Skyrim's really the only one that's ever clicked for me.
Yeah, I think Skyrim is just a very special game. The way that it starts things off, the way that it kind of just like sets you off, and the way that you grow experience as you do things. Which happens in Oblivion as well, but the way that they interact with, and the way that you interact with, the way that you get the benefits of it, like there's something very appealing about the way that they do it in Skyrim. And I think a lot of it has to do with sound design. The sound design of the dun dun, like the like heavy bass notes that hit when you level something up in Skyrim, that isn't really there in Oblivion. There's a lot of like really, like Skyrim really is like, you look at it and that, like that's a masterpiece of its generation. I have put in well over 1,000 hours into Skyrim across multiple systems, like most egregiously on the PC. I got my first like upgraded graphics card so I could play Skyrim on the PC and get mods for it. Like it was a game-changing game for the industry and for everything else. Like there's a reason why it's been remastered and brought to across 2 different console generations. To the point where they made a joke that you could play it on your Alexa, and then they made that joke real. Yeah. It just is what it is. Like Skyrim is that game, and Oblivion's not. Oblivion's a good game. Like it's a good game. The remaster that's been done with this fresh coat of paint. Like if this was like a great, like if Oblivion was just like not a good game, period, I would call it something like putting lipstick on a pig, like putting really fancy lipstick on a pig. But Oblivion's like a good game. It's a solid game. It works functionally well. It's still got like some Bethesda jank to it, but not to like egregious new game first coming out Bethesda jank. Just you know,
I've seen a lot of clips making the rounds that like, oh, it still has this bug, it still has this bug, it still has this glitch, it still has this, you know, Easter egg, all these kinds of like, oh, it's a very faithful, like they did not mess around too much under the hood, and so yeah, it still has like, oh, if you used this, you know, game breaking bug, or not game breaking, but like this glitch that, you know, speedrunners use or something like that, it's still in the remaster.
Yeah. They deliberately, the people who did the remaster, they talked about it in their, like the direct that came out on it. I was like, that's actually a really interesting direct, because they talked about the debate they had as a team of how much do we want to change about this. Bethesda gave them like, do whatever you want with it. And if we don't like it, you know, we'll shut it down, but like do whatever you want with it. And they internally were like, you know what? If we change too much, it's not going to be Oblivion anymore. It's the Ship of Theseus issue, right? How if you replace every piece of the ship, isn't that original ship anymore? If you fix all these bugs, if you fix all these glitches, all these exploits, is it still Oblivion? And
yes,
it is.
Yes, it is just a better version of Oblivion if you fix all the bugs from it.
Fair. Okay, maybe that's not the most apt.
Yeah, this is not a Ship of Theseus analog.
Fair enough. I went for it. I swung for the fences. It didn't work. It happens. I'm okay with that. It just is it's an interesting look at Oblivion's a special game to a lot of folks out there. And I think that
clearly 4 million players.
Yeah.
In the first week or whatever. Yeah.
And I think that it's running better. Like, yeah, does it still have the Bethesda jank, like these old bugs and exploits and everything? Yeah, but intentionally so. They did not seek to go out to fix Oblivion. The best version of Oblivion was taken and given this, like, just brand new look, brand new wardrobe. I shouldn't say new. Just a nicer version of everything else. Updated visuals, adaptive visuals so that it has better performance on the PC. So if you depending on what graphics card you're using, it runs well no matter really what graphics setting you're doing it on. Which matters to some people, Trevor.
I know. I roll my eyes because that's just that annoys me that like they have to build for so many different graphics cards.
Yeah.
As a console gamer, I'm like, no, just like I already hate as a console gamer in these later generations that there's like a performance mode or what's the other one
quality.
They always use? Yeah, I guess quality or performance mode. Like do you want it, you know, high resolution and 30 frames per second, or do you want it 60 frames per second and lower resolution? I'm like, the whole premise of the new generation was that you should be able to do both. Like, stop doing this. Like, oh, we got to sacrifice one or the other. The PCification of everything is annoying to me on that front.
That's fair. I mean, that's a fair argument. I know a lot of people feel that way as well. So, I personally don't, but that's okay. Different strokes for different folks. I could have used a better analogy for that, but anyway. Yeah, Oblivion, it's like, it has not taken me away from anything. I played it, I was like, cool. It's still the game that like I don't really care about. Oblivion. The problem I had with Oblivion is it was very much of like a fantasy game that if this was like your first fantasy game, like your first immersive fantasy game, I could totally see this being like the big one for you. But by this point, I'm trying to think, had I already played? No, I hadn't played necessarily any other games from. Like this was my first Bethesda game, and then I was like, yeah. And then Chandler was like, well, did you like? I was like, yeah, the gameplay felt good. Like I enjoyed the gameplay. He goes, oh well, here's Fallout 3. Definitively, like just narratively a better game.
Yeah.
Oblivion is still like a fine game. I would give it like a 7.5 personally out of like just the gameplay mechanics of the game. But it's also an old game, so they didn't change things other than just making it run better, run well, and look good. So that's really the takeaway from it. Maybe this time I'll get into Oblivion. No, not for you, Chief. Sorry. There's nothing game changing about the game Oblivion here.
Yeah. Yeah, I downloaded it because I re-upped my Game Pass for the next game we're going to talk about, and I was like, all right, it'll be like load up on the other things that have come out that I've missed recently. So I've got like that. I've got Avowed downloaded on the system, and it'll be kind of a case of like, okay, yeah, we'll see how much time I put into it, if any. If not, then I'm gonna let my subscription relapse, and okay, Oblivion Remaster, just uninstall it, no problem. Cool.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Then we will switch over to the game that I was alluding to there, South of Midnight. This was one that kicked off by everybody going nuts and crazy for the last game we're going to talk about, Clair Obscur, which is part of Game Pass. I was like, all right, now's the time to update to redo my Game Pass. And South of Midnight's one that I'd had my eye on for a while, so I wanted to jump in. I knew it was a quick, linear story, so I jumped in to play that before jumping into Clair Obscur. Basically, did all this, downloaded everything Friday, played South of Midnight Friday night, and then yesterday for first half of the day yesterday and finished the game. And I would say South of Midnight is it's an 8 for me. I would say probably it's a great game. Gameplay is it's easily its weakest element. It's pretty straightforward action combat. I ended up actually doing what Greg Miller talked about doing in his South of Midnight review, where about halfway through the game I was just like, I just want to enjoy the story. The combat stuff's kind of really boring for me. So they have an option where you can basically toggle to press a button to skip the combat sequences.
Okay, there you go.
Go into a combat arena. Little prompt comes up in the bottom right. You press the start icon or whatever, and it's like, do you want to skip this? Yes or no? Say yes, and basically all the enemies disappear, and you proceed through the game. And I did that because I was just combat's fine. I still kept it on for the boss fights. I still did all the boss fights and everything like that, but it was just kind of whatever. And the real, I think, shining star of the game is the art design, art direction as a whole, the kind of stop motion-ness and feel to the game. Mm-hmm. Really cool, really fun. That combined with the stories that the game tells of these deep South folklore kind of mythological creatures and stuff like that, and you're playing as Hazel, this weaver, and your responsibility and the way the game is structured is you'll go into an area, you kind of do some platforming and some combat things to kind of piece together the story of that area's big bad, creature. The one from a lot of the early trailers stuff, Two-Toed Tom, this big gator. And as you kind of unravel his story, you find out, how Two-Toed Tom, started out as just a regular gator, and then, but it was tormented by his owner, who basically would always ring the dinner bell as the cue to feed him in this very Pavlovian sense. But only, he basically did it as a torture kind of thing. So this other character kind of comes along, rings the dinner bell while the owner is sleeping, and Two-Toed Tom eats that guy, and that basically like sets Two-Toed Tom on the path to becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
and eating more
grandiose.
people.
And, not people so much as he eats basically a pig farm.
Okay.
And just eat pig upon pig upon pig.
Attaboy, Two-Toed Tom.
And like
Attaboy.
once you've kind of pieced all of the story together, there's usually like a little chase sequence, like a little platforming runner kind of sequence where you're fleeing this fog cloud that's chasing after you, and then you'll ultimately do a fight against the creature. Usually, not always, but usually that's kind of the big climactic beat, and you as the Weaver basically. You're not fighting to kill, you're fighting to subdue so you can heal it, so you can stitch its wounds closed and basically like give it a peace of mind, give it some closure, and let it kind of, return to
its natural state.
A state of normalcy as opposed to this like distorted mythological kind of version of the creature and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
And
I like that.
There's like, 5 or 6 stories that you kind of play throughout the game. There's all told, you're doing this all on a journey to find your mom, who at the beginning of the game basically you're packing up the house because a hurricane's a coming, and the hurricane sweeps the house away with your mom inside, and you go after to hunt her down and track her down, and in the midst of this kind of stumble upon these like mythological powers, these Weaver abilities and stuff like that. So yeah, the stories are really, really cool. And probably my favorite little element of the game is as you are kind of going through the story, usually in the like lead up to the boss fight or doing some of the platforming around the boss fight or something like that, the story kind of gets retold to you in song form. Like they have a bluesy or jazzy or like a very kind of southern Louisiana flair of a song and a soundtrack that plays as you are, going through this area. And the music is always stunning and wonderful. And like, if I was going to buy a video game soundtrack, I would just buy it just for these songs, just to like listen to these songs and enjoy them. Because it's like did you ever do the Raphael fight in Baldur's Gate 3?
Absolutely. I did.
It's like that kind of song vibe.
Cool.
But about like Two-Toed Tom. And there's like a little Two-Toed Tom, Two-Toed Tom. And then like somebody will kind of come in and do a verse. And then we'll come back to Two-Toed Tom, Two-Toed Tom, and stuff like that.
Okay, I dig that. That sounds awesome.
And yeah, just a lot of fun. Great performances. The worth shouting out, Ahmed Best, aka Jar Jar Binks, is the performance director for this game.
Oh, nice.
As well as like one of the ancillary characters in there. There are a few characters that feel like they should get the like backstory, like description and explanation, and they don't. And so that was a little like, it feels like maybe something got lost on the cutting room floor there in order to get the game out in time or something like that. But overall, yeah, like it's a lot of fun. The gameplay, as I said, the weakest element, and it's not that it's bad gameplay, it's just that it's incredibly generic gameplay. The games I found myself like comparing this to the most throughout were Kena Bridge of Spirits or Kena Bridge of Spirits.
I got Kena Bridge of Spirits vibes heavily from the trailers.
Yeah, Kena Bridge of Spirits in terms of like it's very much a AA kind of game to it, and the combat fairly simplistic in that regard. And the other one was the first Hellblade game, Senua's Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was as emotionally traumatic, and we're playing as Hazel here, who is going through her own stuff, but it's nowhere near as like the psychosis that Senua is going through, I would say.
For sure, yeah.
But it's that same kind of thing in that in terms of the gameplay and the combat and stuff. It's minor little puzzles. A lot of times it's like, oh, if you want to go and collect all of the, they're called floofs, which are basically like your currency to upgrade your abilities and stuff
Cool.
like that.
All right.
If you want to find all the floofs in an area, you're going to be going off the beaten path. You're going to have to probably use like, solve a little puzzle or do a little platforming, thing or something like that. Um, and ultimately those just kind of were like, okay, they're a thing to do in this game, but I didn't feel like they were really, they weren't, even when I was still doing the combat stuff, they weren't really like buffing me up, or I wasn't, getting into the, like, if I really wanted to mix and match and find these like epic combos of the powers, maybe I could have, but the powers themselves are pretty simplistic. They're a mix of powers that you use like in traversing the world as well as in these combat areas. And it's like, as a weaver, you can weave a thread of, a past object into the present temporarily. So it's basically like, oh, I need to get across this river, but the bridge is gone. But there's like a little, silhouette or a little ghostly image of where the bridge was. So if I push the R1 button or L1 button, it brings the bridge up for 5-10 seconds or whatever, long enough to get on it and cross the bridge or something like that. In combat, that ability like freezes an enemy temporarily, and you basically can do a little bit extra damage to them while they're frozen in your just normal hack and slash. There's only like a standard attack, and then there's like, if you hold down the button, you can do like a little heavy attack kind of thing, but that was almost never worth the time to hold it down, as opposed to just, let me just whack this guy 3 or 4 times. There's like a little, it's gonna say it in terms of Star Wars stuff. There's like a force push and a force pull ability kind of thing, and they do exactly what you would think with that terminology. And then you get this little guy, this Crouton is this little minion that you can summon, and he is basically this weird little stuffed animal doll thing that you had as a kid. That's like just it's more Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas than cute stuffed animal. Because it's just like a little potato sack with a little bit of hair and stuff like that. But it's very cute in the way that it just kind of like does little grunts and stuff and goes wherever you want it. And you basically send him into little burrows and stuff like that, and he'll go in. And that's again where some of the like the cutesy art design of this is. Like, you go into one of those little burrows and you'll see like rabbits sitting down at a dinner table, and Brer Rabbit style basically, and or turtles in there. And you're going in there and you're, having to use him to turn on a generator or something like that so you can open a door. And in combat, he will possess the enemy temporarily. So you can kind of mix and match those abilities to play around with him. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was very much just kind of like, okay, hack and slash, dodge roll out of the way, go back in, hack and slash a little bit more, dodge roll again, and then finish the enemy off. So yeah, it just didn't really do a ton for me in the combat side of things. But the real showcases of this game are performances are great. The Hazel and all the different characters she meets kind of along her journey. Great performances all around there. The stories of the game, as I said, just a lot of cool little stories there. You can kind of see where a lot of them are going, especially after like the first couple. You kind of get the pattern of like, okay, trauma, and then some character that's already been introduced, kind of facilitated more, or facilitated the creature's revenge or something like that. And so that other character that you've met, maybe not the best person, because they're actually kind of responsible for some murders.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then also throughout, like in each of these areas, there's a lot of like little collectible notes that you can kind of find to read a little bit more backstory about, the various bits and bobs there. And then, yeah, the music throughout, not just the boss tunes that kind of come up, but just music in general throughout the game. Very good. Very, again, jazz, blues kind of inspiration and stuff like that. lots of fun. And yeah, had a fun time with South of Midnight. It was very much like I'm gonna play this, gonna immediately uninstall it, and it'll probably still be up there in the conversation come Game of the Year time. But I also wouldn't be surprised just because the gameplay was so lackluster if it ends up kind of falling a little bit outside, depending on how many games I play. But certainly not the worst thing I've played this year. But yeah, not the best either. And basically it's like, I don't know what else is going to beat Monster Hunter Wilds in terms of like the least Trevor game for me. So it's better than Monster Hunter Wilds.
Sure.
But yeah, not too much else beyond that. So yeah, those are my South of Midnight thoughts. Definitely, like, if you have Game Pass, worth playing through. It's like, especially if you do kind of the accessibility things I did, easily a less than 10-hour experience. Just kind of like main critical pathing the game. Fun for the performances, the story, and the music alone, I would say. So if you just kind of turn the whole thing into like an extended walking simulator, I think you might have a fun time with it. And
Sure.
especially if you have Game Pass, no harm, no foul. Yeah. Oh, also, again, the great art direction. Love the art style, and the scope and scale of some of the fights and stuff, like Two-Toe Tom being a giant alligator that you're fighting him, but the way you're kind of luring him to you so that you can fight him is an allusion to that dinner bell story, or that dinner bell element of his past. You're ringing a church bell that he has basically like destroyed the church. He's vomited out the church bell, and so it's on the ground near you. You throw a rock at it with your like force push abilities kind of thing, and boom, it stuns him, and then you can go in and like whack him a little bit. There is also a lot in that, I would say. It has a lot of those kind of like, oh, he's doing a move that, they'll show you where his move's going to hit, or if it's going to be like, oh, he's going to sweep his tail and it's going to basically like sweep the whole map. They show you kind of the image of where this stuff's going to hit, but a lot of times it like changes at the very last second and does not give you enough time to dodge out of the way and stuff like that. So
Okay.
there's a lot of annoying elements like that just also feel like they hinder, I think, some of the combat elements of this game. Is like, it feels cheap, and it feels like, I mean, maybe if you have incredibly stellar reflexes, you can kind of gauge the timing on this. But a lot of it was like, oh no, like the indication of where he's attacking just hit, and I did not have time to get out of the way of the attack. There were a lot of those moments where I was like, there's no way for me to do it. So I'm glad I'm playing it on the easiest difficulty, and I'm just kind of like brute forcing my way through these fights, because like there was no way I was going to be able to, playing on a harder difficulty, actually avoid some of these attacks in the way that they feel like they should be avoidable. So that was another like dumb, frustrating combat element of it. As somebody who does not like the Souls games where they don't tell you where the hit's going to land or anything like that, here where they do, it's still not fun when it's like, okay, I'm telling you this, but I'm also hitting you, a split second after I'm telling you, so you don't have time. Or even if you hit it at the, even if you immediately roll out of the way, like if you roll out of the way too early, the positioning of the attack moves to just follow.
Oh.
It's auto targeting you. So
okay.
So you've rolled anticipating that the move's going to hit, but now the move's just going to hit you there where you've rolled to. And if you wait until like the very last possible or the right possible second to do it, you don't roll far enough to get out of the way of the attack. Sometimes it's just like, what the hell? So frustrating on that aspect, but overall, like, and that's why, taking that element of it aside, the game is much better in my opinion by just making it kind of a walking sim platformer game as opposed to extensive combat sequences and stuff like that. Because yeah, again, a lot of it is just like the combat is just repetitive. Every few areas they like for a while they'll introduce like, here's a new enemy type, and here's the kind of way you take out this enemy if you want to be more strategic about it and stuff like that. But it's just like, okay, it's still usually just comes down to hack and slash them, enough. Oh, this is the one that provides shields for the enemies. Okay, take that enemy out first, and then go after the ones that, are no longer shielded and stuff like that. So, yeah. South of Midnight, again, 8 out of 10 for me. A great game, in part because I kind of walked away from the combat of it, much like the Greg Miller experience. And I was very glad that he talked about that experience, because that made me know that it was an option for this game. So, yeah. And with that, let's hop back over to Clair Obscur Expedition 33, where Cam, you've played a lot of this game over the last few days. As I said, I jumped in and basically wanted to kind of burn through South of Midnight there first before jumping into this one. And I'll also just real quick give the little anecdote that I told you. So it's a Game Pass game. So I downloaded it and basically booted it up once I finished South of Midnight, played through the tutorial. And this is a game where it has a lot of button prompts based on, if you want to, do the combat in the best possible way. Playing it on Xbox, I just always get confused by the Xbox buttons and their placement, just because Xbox is not the controller of choice for me. So I basically did that tutorial fight, and before I even got down off the roofs of Lumiere, I said, nope, I'm just gonna buy this on PlayStation and play it over there.
Yep.
I'm not going to try and deal with Xbox button prompts for a 40 to 80 hour experience or whatever this game is.
Sure. Yep.
I'm just gonna immediately go over to PlayStation. So that's my it's I'm not gonna get as much of a benefit out of the Game Pass-ness as I thought I was with this game, but so far I'm enjoying it. We talked beforehand. I have just gotten SKA, which is kind of one of your overworld transportation elements in the game. So
he is a combination of a vehicle and
a character
Yeah. SKA, he's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. I freaking love it.
So that's where I'm at in the game. I've got basically a party of, or I've got four characters in my party plus SKA now.
Yep.
I've still not met Ben Starr. Is basically where I know.
Yeah, no, you will not meet Ben Stark's character until further on in the game.
Yeah, just looking at the cast list, I believe he was just name dropped in my conversation with SKA, but yeah, I've not met the character yet.
Yeah, he does mention his best friend. Yes.
Yeah.
That is his character. It's not a spoiler to give you his name unless you want to keep totally silent on it, but it's cool.
I mean, I know his name because of the everything, so I'm good. But for anybody jumping in,
because we are going to do the spoiler free,
a little more vague. I have now heard the Andy Serkis character in one of the cutscenes and stuff like that, so I know who Andy Serkis is playing in this game as well.
Yep. I will say the cast for this game is fucking wild how good it is. It's such a stacked cast.
I'm running around. I've been fighting the mimes, so I've got the baguette costumes. I'm not wearing the costume, but I've changed the faces to the baguette characters, and I love having Gustav run around in his baguette glasses and beret. Actually, yeah, does he have a beret?
He does have a beret, yes.
Yeah. Yes. But I love having him in the glasses because it's Charlie Cox, so he's just Daredevil. I'm just running around with Daredevil.
Well, it's interesting
as my party leader.
I want to ask the team so badly who was Charlie Cox replacement for what's his name? Robert Pattinson. Because how Robert Pattinson looks. Yeah, he looks like Robert Pattinson from a movie called Good Times. It's wild.
Or The Lighthouse, yeah.
Or The Lighthouse, yeah. Just
basically Robert Pattinson with a mustache.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But even then, if that's not the case, which I could totally see it not being the case, he's just a very French-looking dude.
Yeah, I don't imagine, because none of the characters look like
they're not photorealistic too much. Yeah. Yeah, they don't look like performers.
That would be very weird if this was a young Jennifer English hearing, or basically another, basically her looking out there, kind of looking a little bit like Shadowheart again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Jennifer Hart's here. The cast is absolutely stacked. And this narrative is unbelievably good. I was not expecting it to be able to like hook me so hard from the get-go. The prologue spends its entire time setting up the world and the kind of the
stakes.
The stakes, yeah, the stakes of everything. Because it's like the premise is there's this existence of a something called the Paintress, and every year for the last 100 years, she has essentially been counting down to the end of humanity.
Last 67 years.
Sorry, 67.
It started at 100.
Yeah, and it's whittled down year by year, and anybody who's that age dies in a very French way of doing it, which is it's very beautiful.
Sure.
But it's also incredibly devastating. This is I like the term JRPG for referring to this genre of JRPG.
Sure.
Because it's decidedly French.
Yeah.
Everything is very French. Of course, the development team's in France. They're in Paris. Incredible team of like 60 something people that over the course of the last few years have put together, I think, I still have the rest of Act 2, and then there's also Act 3 that I have to get through, but so far I'm about 22 hours into the game, and it continues to just blow my socks off. Narratively, what it delivers on, what it sets up, and what it's doing is fantastic. Not to mention the way that they're doing the cool, smart thing, which is, hey, every single one of your party members is different in how they engage in combat.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say there's strong quote unquote classes, because you get attribute points that then you can put towards whatever stats you want to.
Yeah.
And that is separate from their abilities and their skills and stuff.
Yeah. Luna certainly seems to be the one that is basically the white mage of the, I mean, she's like a white and black mage, because she's the only one, I think, of the abilities I've unlocked thus far that seems to have good heals to her.
Other characters will get heals later on, but
yeah.
she does get that early on.
Yeah.
The way that they've incorporated resources being circle much more around a Souls game Eustace flask like this.
It's there was a moment when I was leveling up my characters and putting attribute points into it, and no, it was when I was instructed, oh, here's how the weapon system works.
Yes, the weapon system.
Here's the weapons. Oh, if you've got a C and a D in this, oh, the weapon will exponentially, or not exponentially, but it will increase relative to those stats.
It scales to those stats.
And I was like, oh my god, I'd already gotten flavors of this, but I'm like, yeah, no, this game is definitely tricking me into a turn-based Souls-like game.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
It's so good.
I'm doing better at parrying than I ever done, but I also am admittedly playing it on the story mode because I know I'm terrible at parries and
there's nothing
dodges.
wrong with that. I think
I've got the biggest possible parry window open in that front. I've not gone fully into the there's an option in the settings that's basically auto QTE, do those automatically. I'm not doing that, but yeah, on the parry side of things, I'm like, all right, I'm trying, and I'm bad at reading the timing on these things, which is why I'm bad in the Soulsborne's games, and I just do not have the most fun with this kind of stuff.
A new monster or creature showing up can wreck your experience real hard, real fast.
Yeah.
A new creature type. There's only so many creatures.
I fought a chromatic troubadour that was one shot killing my characters with his trumpet attack if I didn't dodge it or parry it. It was a 3-phase attack kind of thing, and one of those phases basically took me to 1, and then he would finish me off with the other hits or something like that.
Yeah,
I finished him, but I definitely died to him first, and then reloaded a save.
I appreciate that, especially before you go into one of those encounters, like a boss fight encounter. This game saves very regularly. I appreciate that. It is if you ever want to force a save, you just have to change out your equipment a little bit. Go to the menu, change out your equipment, come out of that menu, then go back in, rechange your equipment back to the way you had it.
Yeah.
That'll force a save.
It has the full Estus Flask kind of mechanic of you've got these Estus Flasks. and so you can like re-heal your party, you know, out of combat with them for a limited number of times, however many you have. Or you can rest up at one of the flags. That will restore your camps, but it also brings all the enemies back onto the field. Not all the enemies, and the basically the non-special enemies. I would say
non-specific enemies is what I usually call them. Like there are specific enemies that are either bosses or unique enemies. Or are just enemies that won't respawn after you kill them. Anything that's like that, they will not respawn. Or if there's like event based, there's some when you're in the meadows, the first area that you're in. You have enemies that kind of like fly in and you have a battle. When you reset, it does that.
Those ones don't.
They don't come back in.
And they're not just sitting in there.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like I use unique. They kind of encompass all of those.
And there was one over in that area that was like, this guy's a heavy one. Like we should probably avoid him. And I fought him just to see how I was going to go. I beat him, and he was another one that did not respawn.
Those are the chromatic enemies.
So I didn't catch that he was.
He's the.
I did not catch that he was the first chromatic.
He is the chromatic lancer, I believe is his name.
Okay.
I know this because I've been doing a hunt on some chromatic creatures, and there's some that because I'm in level 30s in the 30 level range.
So you're going back to all these old places and just cleaning up.
To the ones that I couldn't win, like the ones I couldn't beat those enemies. It's like. Not because like, oh, they'll wipe me out, because I'm good enough that I can go back in practice against a boss or something like that, get their timing down, and so I don't have to worry about getting hit necessarily. The problem was, how much damage am I doing and ticking off of these guys? Because if that's the case, it's not going well. Oh, I did a full like Expedition 33 counters, like counter attacks. Didn't even shave a little bit off, and I'm like, is this one of the ones where you have to like break? Oh nope, it's not even a break one because I already have them at like max break bar, so it's not even one of those challenges. It's like, okay, I'm too weak for this. I'm going to leave now. Full on like that experience is there too. The game's very forgiving about that.
My favorite enemies thus far have been like the little, like we'll call them Gestral constructs. I know they have like another name in the game that they call
like
them.
the big ones that they piece together.
Like the you know,
the automatons
catapult or the thing with a cannon. And like I love shoot the shoulder, and you shoot it enough times and the shoulder breaks and this enemy no longer has that cannon attack. Love that.
Those enemies are so cool. There's also a lot of enemies that have like a chromatic orb in them. They're not necessarily chromatic level creatures, but they have like an orb in them that when you shoot it, it does an effect that like affects just them or their entire enemy party.
The little guys that hold the mines, shoot that mine and boom.
There's some guys where like there's some, anytime you see anything floating around somebody, it's worth a shot to shoot it. I appreciate that. I love the gunplay mechanic going on with these, or just the ranged mechanic that they have going on for it, the aim stuff.
It's such a fun mashup of like a Persona and a Final Fantasy, and like
Legend of Dragoon with the QTEs and attacks and stuff.
I mean, you have that as Legend of Dragoon. I think of like the Mario RPG or the Paper Marios and stuff like that. All those different mechanics of like basically picking and choosing the best of the best across so many things. Even the Soulsborne-y kind of elements of this game are fun and make it a funner experience.
It keeps me on edge every fight. It makes every fight interesting. Or just about. Like when you're strong enough, you don't need to worry about it, or because you wipe them out on your turn. But it just does so much. There's also the preemptive attack before you go into battle. That's just super helpful.
But I don't like, because it has now introduced like the jump dodge kind of thing. I don't like how many different iterations of dodging or parrying I have to remember, or have like my hands on the buttons and ready to in a split second notice be like, oh, I got to jump, and then I do appreciate that it gives me more time if I do the correct jump to do like the counter attack. Because I don't typically have my hand on the R2 button for that kind of stuff or whatever. But it's still like, okay, I gotta figure out, is this going to be something I try and parry? Do I dodge roll out of the way of it, or do I try and do I need to do the jump counter kind of thing?
I will say, if you're struggling, because I know I was struggling for a long time, the best way, there's an audio cue before your characters are about to be hit, and there's also just the visual of they're about to be hit by something. If you can catch that and you listen for those cues, you can counter pretty consistently in this game. But there is no wind up for the parry in this game. The parry is just very much you're about to be hit the button, parry. I think that a lot of people have been trying.
You basically just said parry and counter.
Sorry,
which is the same mechanic.
Same mechanic. Sorry, apologies.
The first version. Do you mean you can pretty consistently dodge roll out of the way using that sound cue?
No, you can use it for counter parry. The parry you can parry with that sound cue as well for most attacks.
Okay, because what I'm like, the counter is like, the last of the parries of this sequence. So if it's like a 3-hit combo or something like that, it will counter on that one.
Let me roll back a bit here and say it's a good indicator of when to parry is when you hear that noise. It's like it's like a soft explosion noise before a lot of attacks are about to hit you.
I mean, part of the problem is there's always too much audio going on.
That's fair.
That's like one of the first things I did was
turn down the music.
The music mix in a lot of these games, I appreciate that they're giving me the options to do this, but one of the first things I did was I lose the voices. So I basically brought down all of the non-voice sound effects. So the music, the UI and the sound effects, I brought those down to like 80% and kept voices at 100% so I could hear what's actually going on.
Sure.
I don't know if that's just my 40-year-old ears now or what, but that's just becoming an increasing pain point in a lot of these kinds of games where the mix is just there's so much other stuff going on that voices often get drowned out with all that other stuff.
Yeah, I will say that another thing also is like I think a lot of games it's like look for the wind up.
Yeah.
Oh, when they're about to swing down, that's when you want to counter because there's the time gap between your parry and doing that. This game, none of that. If your timing is off, wait till they're about to be hit is my suggestion. It doesn't always work out because sometimes you'll get.
And that's the problem is the wind up holds up there and then it comes down real quick. And if you if you try and push the button after it's already coming down, you've missed it.
Yep.
You have to do it right before it goes down, and that's the timing you need to know. And that's the timing I can't.
This is the visual trick that I use.
A lot of times.
I don't pay attention to creatures winding up. I do a little bit to when it starts, but then I put all my focus onto the character that's being targeted. Mm-hmm. And the moment I see something is about to hit them, that's when I hit my parry.
Yeah.
That's my trick. I'm running off of on my PC, I'm running it at at 120 frames, like FPS per second. So if I'm seeing this and you're not seeing it what I'm trying to say is if you're not seeing this it's going too fast, it could just be because of the difference in the performance of what I'm doing. I do have it broken down that way. I didn't mention it just because I wanted to be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
I did want to be specific about it. So if my answer isn't helping you, that might be why. Shout out to Trevor doing the jerk off motion. Usually I'm the one doing it. So it was fun looking at the monitor and seeing Trevor do it instead. It's like, been there, okay. No hate towards you on that one, Trevor, because I do it all the time. The motion, not necessarily. Anyway. But this game, I think that the music hits, the combat hits, the characters are hitting super hard because...
Yeah, I glossed over it, but the music, I love the music of this game.
It's
I saw a story making the rounds that's basically this guy was discovered on SoundCloud by the team. Cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
The team found him on SoundCloud and were like, hey, do you want to make the music for our game? And he was like, sure.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, man. This is an indie team.
Yeah.
They're part of the Kepler Initiative, which is a larger publisher initiative to bring out indie games and give them funding. And that's what happened here. This is not and it's crazy how polished this game is for an indie game. This is up there with the levels I would say of something like Supergiant Hades.
Yeah.
This is a quote unquote indie AAA studio.
There is this,
and it's their debut. It's crazy.
Yeah. There is this thing I've seen, that's the most, that could have used another round of polish, to this is a lot of the cutscenes. It'll be, the character is clean and crisp, and then everything behind them is blurred.
Yeah.
But the hair on someone like Gustav, very fluid and flowy, the women as well. And it does that thing that, like, you know, if you just kind of auto the Adobe blur effect or something like that, it will kind of, if there's something in the background in between the strands of hair, that's crystal clear too.
Yep.
So I'll see that a lot where it's like, the background is in and out of focus based on if it's caught within the, you know, hair model of the character or not.
Yep. There's a lot going on here.
But yeah, like that's such a that's how I know it's not a Naughty Dog game.
Yeah.
But it still looks great.
Oh yeah. I would say hair physics are the game's like weakest point graphically.
They're funny to me, especially Mael's hair.
Oh my gosh,
like
her strands just bounce everywhere.
It's like they're going in wildly different directions to the wind, it would seem. So yeah, or it's just always horizontal. It's like, so it was those very strong winds that we're sitting on here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very much the hair physics are like, oof, okay. But hey, I'm guessing they didn't have a hair texture specialist on their team.
Sure. Which
is totally okay for this small of a team. Like a lot of the stuff that people would be like, oh, well, you know, a lot of like artifacting or a lot of like other stuff happened. I was like, yeah, but this game was made by like 60 something people over the course of its development.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so good for that. Also, shout out to the narrative director, who is the only writer on this game, I found out.
Oh.
So one writer wrote everything, which is insane for a game that has this much dialogue in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story of it is brilliant. This paintress, who's now, after the most recent one, 34 down to 33, the countdown goes down to 33. Some very impactful stuff happens where with the people who, they call it the gommage, where people are killed by the paintress based on their age. Another thing that they bring up is also, they're like, Mael, you have, like, you don't need to go out on this expedition. You have 9 years left.
Yeah.
And they're finding
the tradition is, you know, you go on the expedition
your last
year kind of thing. Yeah.
To try to save the world, but also die like a noble death, basically.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people who
die a warrior's death instead of just sitting back at home.
And there's a lot of respect for the people who choose to gommage as well.
Yeah.
Rather than join an expedition, a lot of them are also parents.
Yeah.
And one of the really like
the
depressing
kind of situation.
Yeah. The depressing thing, it's like, because one of the characters that you meet in the prologue is just like, I can't believe like you didn't have kids, and it's like every person who's having children knows they're leaving their child an orphan.
Yeah.
It is gut-wrenching to see like this inevitability and also this countdown to the extinction of the human race, because it's not going to need to get to like 1. It's going to basically be over when it gets to like 12 or even higher, like 16. Like, you know, reproductive wise, like America, like the world is like really screwed right now. And it really is. It's this fight against inevitability. It's this fight of trying to create a better future.
Yeah, Gustav mentions basically like you need to, like, you could stick around and help things for the last generation. Basically,
yeah,
like they're already prepared that the kids that are, you know, in that world right now are the last generation. They're not going to grow up to have kids of their own, kind of thing,
unless they can beat the paintress.
Yeah.
And even that is like veiled in mystery. Like we don't know why who the paintress is or why she's doing this. It's just a fact of life that people are dealing with. And like, so that's also part of the greater mystery is what's happening on the continent. Lumiere is a city that's been thrown out to sea. And it's this entire like,
it very much feels like, I mean, a lot of the game so far is giving me vibes of like Paris blown apart, and
yes,
Lumiere is part of obviously
that is
the
accurate.
City of Lights. Like one of the areas I came across in the world was like had a sign going pointing one way, and then the other way was like Tour d'Eiffel.
Yeah. No. Paris.
And in the very first image, you see a very distorted Eiffel Tower. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lumiere is like that's not really a big spoiler, but it is there. There is an area that we'll encounter later called Old Lumiere, which is like no spoilers with that, but it's an interesting note about it. And yeah, there's a lot of things you find over the course of your journey are from the previous expeditions. You find out like what they succeeded at, what they failed at, what kind of personalities of the people were around with like Expedition 87, like one of the earlier ones. there is something so fascinating about this, like ideas of legacy and what carries forward. Because another thing also is that Maëlle and Gustav are brother and sister.
Adopted. Yeah.
Maëlle was adopted by Gustav and his sister Emma, and that's a big part of it. Is he does not want her to come on this. He wants her to stay back with Emma, but Maëlle will not. She's not going to let Gustav go off on his own like this. She also has like a burning desire to do something, not just wait around for the last generation to do that. But one of the things is I was like, well, how old is Maëlle? She has 9 years left. So she's 30, and then it's like, oh wait, no, it countdowns every year. It goes both ways, and I'm like, that's terrifying.
There was a little some character I was talking to asked the question of like, if I was a 2-year-old human baby, at what time, like, how old would I be when I, would fromage? And I had to kind of go through and be like, okay,
gomage, not fromage. Fromage would be cheesed.
Yeah, sorry. I think I said gromage.
I heard fromage, and I was like, they're not getting cheesed, my guy.
Oh, 2 and 33. So then, when they're 3, the year's 32, 4, 31. And basically, like, did that until I met in the middle. And so, yeah. So did you do the numbers? Did you crunch the numbers on where?
She's 16.
Is she 16? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, they said teenager. They said she's got 9 years left. So, yeah, I guess that maps up.
Yep. So, yeah, she's like, so the 16-year-old girl is there.
25 would be the 9 years left.
Yep. It's like, it's crazy. It's so good. It's so great. But I also love that, like, Gustav is also a professor. He's a teacher, and he's a lecturer, and he's a scientist. He's a scientist. He is. Charlie Cox does such a great job of portraying Gustav as somebody who has an inherent light of hope in his heart that has just been trampled and beaten up so badly.
Sure.
Like, there is just the light, like, Gustav is a hopeful, earnest person, and the world he is in just beats the shit out of him for it. And there's something about his determination throughout it, but it's not like a blanket determination. There's faults in it. There's stumbles along the way. And I think it's just fantastic the way that the party is so unique in that they know they're setting off for what will be probable death.
Mm-hmm.
And what is this like? It has so many vibes of I Am Setsuna, of like that old RPG from the last generation.
Old RPG.
Yeah, old RPG. Yeah. Produced by or published by SquareSoft. But they
fully Square Enix for I Am Setsuna.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're. I mean, SquareSoft.
Oh, did I say SquareSoft? I meant Square Enix. My bad. No, this was Square.
It was their Tokyo or their RPG Factory.
Yes, it was
subsidiary, which I wrote in my review for I Am Setsuna back on like Trevor Trove. Like, that name was already a telling name of like they're just trying to crank out RPGs.
Yep.
And I Am Setsuna being one that's like, they picked and chose this element from Final Fantasy X and this part from Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger and basically like, here's the Frankenstein monster of a JRPG that they made on a AA budget kind of thing for I Am Setsuna. But yeah, good stuff. Thematically, lots of parallels and elements in this as well.
Yep, I just think Final Fantasy X parallels as well. Yeah. This idea that, but instead of one person, it's your entire party, like because you're all 33. Except for Maëlle, everyone else is 33. It's your last year alive, no matter what.
Yeah.
So what do you want to make out of it? And I think that that's such a really, really, really cool message and theme. And something that Gustav says very often is, for those that come after.
Mm-hmm. We continue.
We continue.
I love when you finish a battle, like, we continue is the prompt you get at the bottom.
Yep.
Instead of just continue or
it's we continue.
Next or whatever, yeah.
One falls, we continue. For those that come after. And it's beautiful. It's very beautiful.
We're all dead, you're just catching up. Like, they have a lot of fun with the phrasing on that. Which also, I'll call that out. Like, as heavy as the subject matter is, there's also a lot of very fun levity moments and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. It's especially when you meet the Gestrels. The Gestrels are some of the best parts of this game. They all speak heavy French, like speaking French in these like just ridiculous voices that are like distorted over like the sound effects of it, and they are hilarious. They are basically a race of people who are constantly reincarnated back into other like basically puppet people. They're reincarnated constantly, and they have a distinct desire to fight as much as possible.
They're all basically the art school mannequin.
Yes.
With a paintbrush head.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is, like, when I said this game is so decidedly French, yeah, exactly. This is part of it. Yeah. The Gestrels are, I love that it's like, oh, well, you think, oh, are they going to be cute mascot-y characters? It's like, a little bit.
Some are.
Some are. But guess what? Even those small ones want to fuck you crazy. Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are, life is conflict, and they love life.
I love that mechanic of the merchants, where it's like, if you want this merchant's like top tier item, you got to fight them.
It's a one-on-one duel. You got to fight them. I love it. Like the entire idea of like, oh, hey, there's this cute, like, oh, they do that. It's like, no, not only that, but they also, the constructs they have running around are like, they are invincible, like the invincible constructs. And it's just unbelievable. Like, just, it's so French. It's so French.
Yeah.
The humor is incredibly French. The fact that they play with death in such a, like this attitude about it, but at the same time it's so poignant and so good. And it's like, god damn, if you had told me, hey Cameron, Adventure RPG might be your game of the year, I'd be like, I don't know about that, Chief. But fuck me, it's getting there, man.
It's on its way.
It's so good.
One of the beats that I just had, it related to the SKA stuff. Lots of humor around like his introduction and his neighbor / arch nemesis Francois. But even getting into him, where somebody's like, "Here's the password. You gotta yell it as loud as possible." And then you get there, and everybody's like, "Well, Gustav, you're the loudest of us. Yell it." And Charlie Cox yells the thing, and the guy's like, rude.
Yeah, like, why'd you have to do that?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and he's like so guilty and remorseful, and everybody's like, dude, like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Let's just go. And he's
just like, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Charlie Cox is so perfect as Gustav.
Yeah.
Between the cast of characters, everyone in this game, it's phenomenal. This team is incredible. This team that made this game is just, they're unbelievably talented. It's crazy that they were able to produce this game with the team that they have, but just the incredible talent that this team has. It's so, and I want to give a massive shout out. You bought yours on PlayStation. They announced they've hit over 1 million copies sold.
Yeah.
So it's not including the Game Pass. And from what I'm seeing from like Game Pass, the stats that we can glean out of it, it's a top download on Game Pass right now.
Yeah.
It is, as I say this, Beard in the Hair from over at in Point in Progress, our friends over there, he literally popped up saying he's playing it now for my Steam notifications, and it's just like, there you go. This game is, it's funny, a lot of people are like, did Xbox send this game out to die with Oblivion coming out at the same time? And it's like, nah.
Maybe they did. Oblivion definitely got a whole bunch of extra like
news from it, yeah.
News out of and sucked a lot of the air out. I think if Oblivion hadn't come out, this game would probably be doing even better.
Probably.
Because it already was like wowing a lot of people in terms of like the critical response and stuff like that. It's one of the highest user rated games on Metacritic, which is one of those like wild things, I think. Which also doesn't mean anything, because that just means that like the woke ass, the people that you yell about woke games or whatever haven't like started to downvote it or whatever. But yeah, it's seems to be going very, very well for them, especially for a game that going to Game Pass usually means, okay, that's going to hinder sales, but other people being like, yeah, no, I'm going to buy the game outright. I went to, before I just bought it on PlayStation, I went to Best Buy, or like I looked at the Best Buy to see if I could just buy a physical copy there. Sold out.
There you go.
Couldn't even so I was like, all right, well, I've already got money in my PSN account anyway, so I'll just buy it digitally. But
Also, it's officially the top Open Critic, which is what I go to before Metacritic.
sorry, that's probably what I was referencing.
Okay. Open Critic has it at 91, which is it makes it the highest rated game critically of the year. It's sitting at a 97% critics recommend. So even people who didn't give it like the full 10 out of 10 or 5 out of 5 still recommend the game. And then it has a 100% player rating, which even on Open Critic is crazy.
Yeah.
Which means even if somebody posted one that was like negative, it's getting drowned out by the positives. I will say probably the biggest feather in its cap is coming from its 10 out of 10 from Fextra Life. Fextra Life is an outlet that is dedicated to Souls-like games. If you Google Dark Souls Wiki, the Fextra Life Wiki for Dark Souls is probably the one that's going to show up.
So I know nothing about Fextra Life, but when I searched for things that that Clair Obscur doesn't tell you and kind of beginner's tips, 2 of their videos came up in that search.
Yep.
Like, here's a beginner's tip, and then here's the things we wish we knew now that we're 80 hours in or whatever.
Yep.
Fextra
Life is extremely critical of Souls-like games. Them giving this a 10 out of 10 was very unexpected for a lot of folks. I didn't even expect them to do coverage for it because they had just finished doing Kazan not too long ago. But yeah, they just they give it a 10 out of 10 for a lot of folks. That's like, if you want to talk about, how Souls-like or how good is the gameplay on it, them giving it a 10 out of 10 says a lot because they're much more about gameplay than narrative. And for them to say this is a 10 out of 10 gameplay-wise is insane.
Sure.
They're very, like I said, they're very, very tough on Souls-like games. So anything they picked up from this and giving it a 10 out of 10 is big for that. But everybody else gave it 9s and 10s. And I think that was I thought this was going to come out. I was looking forward to this game. I thought this game was going to come out and maybe be an 8 or an 8.5.
Yeah.
For most places. At worst, maybe a 7.5. But I would be like, I like it so much, it's higher up for me.
Mm-hmm.
For the general consensus for everybody who's touched this game to say this game is really good is very much not what happens in today's gaming spaces.
I saw an article basically being like, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 proves that Square Enix has just been gaslighting you about not being able to make turn-based JRPGs. Because clearly they can, and also have it action focused and all that stuff.
I saw a clip from MinMax where they're like, yeah, so Clair Obscur just blows Metaphor like right out of the fucking water. And I'm like, I don't know if I go that. I don't want to go that far, but like I get it though. I mean,
from a gameplay perspective, there's definitely a lot more fun to the turn-based combat of.
I will say Clair Obscura's approach to turn-based combat is much less traditional than Metaphor's.
Yeah.
But I think both are uniquely great. I mean, Metaphor was my game of the year last year. Like it really speaks to, we're kind of living in like the best. I think Blessing Adeoye Jr. over at Kind of Funny said, for an action RP, like an action game fan, we're living in like a golden age.
Sure.
And I would say as a turn-based RPG fan, we're kind of entering this like really cool golden age of the not from who you'd expect. I mean, Atlas, you do expect that from.
I mean, well, yeah, like the fact that like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth were my top 2 games last year, and Metaphor ReFantazio in there in the top 5 kind of thing. Like, yeah, it was a banner year for JRPGs last year.
And I think Clair Obscur is taking that banner, is running with it here in 2025. So yeah, we're just enjoying. I mean, we're both enjoying the game. I fully expect us to probably have a spoiler cast by the time we're both done with it.
Probably, yeah. When you're running around either in an area or in the overworld. Also shout out to a JRPG having an overworld.
Crazy. There's an overworld.
It's weird that the most direct analog I have to it is Tiny Tina's Wonderland's overworld.
Okay.
Which it just has that same kind of like vibe.
I didn't play it, so I'll take your word for it.
The characters are, very large compared to their surroundings in terms of like how it's displayed and all that stuff.
Then when you're on SDA, it's crazy.
Also has that same kind of like oh, once you get to the other side of this area, you can like open up a bridge that will let you,
That's
backtrack
so good.
so quick. Like
So you can
so
go
much quicker
around
and
the
stuff like
areas
that.
that you just went through.
Yeah.
There's so many great quality of life things that they have going on in this game.
Yeah. But when you're running around those areas, do you have like a character that you're kind of maining as you run around?
First I was Gustav, and now I just have my Mael kind of be my main. She's usually who I have running around doing stuff.
For me, it's pretty much always Luna.
Oh, because she flies.
Yeah, because she flies. Not because she's barefoot. That's a weird thing, but whatever. But yeah, it's like when everybody else just kind of does the run animation, but she just kind of like floats and hovers. I'm like,
it's cool.
That's the way cooler option. Of course, I want to be doing, and it then makes sense of why she can go around barefoot, because she doesn't have her feet on the ground, or she doesn't need to have her feet on the ground.
I will say there. I mean, this is the smallest of spoilers, because in traditional RPG fashion, the party is split at some point, and Luna is like the main leader of that party. So I was like, oh well, I'll be her then and fly around. And I'm like, it kind of rules flying around in this game. It kind of rules.
Yeah.
But I just love the characters are
it's the unique animation of those. So I'm like, yeah, this is the fun one to do.
Yeah.
I love that it doesn't have any other bearing. Like when you talk to characters, it's whatever character is going to talk to them. It just kind of jumps to that character kind of thing.
I love that the locomotion of every character is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Gustav is much more of like swinging his arms a lot and running, and you get a lot of like from him. Mael is like a trained runner, like low to the ground, bent knees, just booking it all the time. Lune flies. CL has her own kind of like a rumble and tumble to the way she like jogs around.
I haven't done too much with her yet. I've got her as a party member, and part of for me, it immediately hits that issue where I'm like, well, I've already got these 3 characters, and you're only giving me a party of 3 in combat, so I know and I have an understanding of the way I use these characters in combat. What's the benefit of switching to this one?
This game, in my opinion, the only fault that I have in this game desperately needed the Final Fantasy X party change system in combat. Desperately needed that. Because I hate having characters that I can't just swap in and out. I
appreciate that she's leveling up with
regardless.
She
levels
same
up
as the other characters. Like she doesn't need to be in the party to be leveling up and stuff like that. So
that's fair. Also, what I did for her, where you're at right now, I put all of the solo fighter stuff on her, and so if my party wiped, she'd drop down, but she'd have all these insane buffs because of the Pictos. The Pictos are.
So if your party wipes.
It says, do you want to bring in your reserves?
Gotcha. Okay.
And she drops in, and if she's your only person in the reserve, which she is
I should do that.
Yeah.
Because I got all those solo buffs from the little the
arena
hidden arena kind of thing. But I just had I had them all on Mael as I was doing that, the different fights in that arena, just letting her kind of wreck shop. And then once they were mastered, I just kind of unequipped them all, because I'm like, well, she's not solo anymore. But that's that's a good strategy to throw on.
Oh yeah,
right now CL's running around with nothing.
Yep, CL for me it is load her up with all this stuff, and then my party wipes. Okay, the party's wiped. She drops in because it asks you if you want to call in reserves. You confirm that. She drops in. She's buffed to hell.
I should definitely give her abilities or level up her abilities, and not just let all those points just fester.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because that's the thing is if I'm not using her, I haven't been bothering to increase her attributes or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no. You should, because she also has some, I think, the most unique abilities.
I mean, that's a whole other thing where I'm of 2 minds of it. The fact that each character is very much, here's how this character plays, and Mael having the stances, CL having the fortune, night and day, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm like, this is too many things for me to try and keep track of. I'm not gonna min max this. It's Luna having the stain stuff. It's all right. It was nice and simple when it was okay, this guy has a counter, and when he's got 10, you do his overdrive thing. Cool. But yeah, when everybody has those things, I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna have to watch an entire video on here's how to do the best builds for each character, and I don't necessarily want that. but I also don't want to be punished because I don't do that.
The cool thing about like Lunaeus is it doesn't punish you. It's just if you want to really make it effective, you learn her stains.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't know what the fuck these stains are doing, but I know if I do these do her abilities in the right combination, the stains activate and I do about a shit ton of damage. I don't know how they fucking work.
Yeah, it's like I have like a spell that's like, oh, if you have 2 of the fire stains on and then you cast this thing, like it'll do this is the normal damage, but then it'll have like a little description saying, if you have 2 fire stains, it does this extra thing. Yeah. And so basically like burns through those. I also, I got an ability that I haven't really been able to benefit from it yet, but it's basically like, if you have, this will do damage proportional to the number of stains, and it will do extra damage if you have all 4 stains kind of levied up. And she has a weapon right now that anytime she does like a shot, it adds a stain to her, like it adds a random stain to it. So I could basically like have her attack, once or twice, and then do a couple shots and then immediately go into that attack. I like that economy of the combat where it's like you have action points.
Yep.
And if you want to burn all your action points shooting the enemies, you can, and then you still have like an attack at the end kind of thing. Or you can, use 1 action point and then go and use a skill or something.
Yep.
I like that that you have like the just multiple options on that front. Again, very much in the Persona vein.
Yep. I will say the thing about CLs to make it easy is focus initially on racking up the fortune counters on the enemies, like because there's 2 skills you can use that basically within 2 rounds you're almost at 20. You're like over 10. Mm-hmm. And at that point, focus. My focus has just been on whatever can I have build up for fortune, and then I have consume fortune.
Yeah,
and then the other stuff, it's like building up to this to get to Twilight. I'm like, I never have to worry about that because by the time she gets in there and she's so buffed out to hell, I don't worry about that. Now, granted, I have more than one party member in my reserves now, so that strategy no longer applies.
Yeah, she's giving me flashbacks to my Black Mage in Final Fantasy XIV, where it's like I got to use all my fire abilities and then I got to switch to the ice abilities, and then just kind of doing that like pendulum swing. Feels like she has that same.
That's
kind of
very
like
much how her day-night abilities work.
Yeah.
But if you can activate Twilight, then it basically everything gets piled into one pile, and you have a bunch of points to spend into that. So she's cool. I like her stuff, but there's a lot. There's a lot for every character. I will say one of the characters later on is has a very unique approach to like blue mage.
As soon as you started that sentence before getting to the blue mage, I was like, you know what? I haven't seen a blue mage kind of character in this
There
game.
is one.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
And it's fucking great.
Cool.
Such a novel approach to the idea of that idea, the concept. It's so damn good.
So one of the things I want to ask you about, because I want to hear, like, I've seen the lightest of discourse around this element of the game not having like mini maps in the areas and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that element? I will say I appreciate thematically why a mini map doesn't make sense in this game and in this world, but it is also, I run around in circles so much in the areas because I don't they don't do a great job of, or like there's so much of like things look the same and I don't know if I've gone down this path and found whatever like little hidden things are in the alcoves or something like that. So especially when I'm just trying, like I'm like, okay, I came into this area to find and fight the mime. I've done that now. Now what's the fastest way out of here? How do I get out of this area? Some of that stuff. Oh, and even like the fast travel stuff of like, oh, if I can fast travel between the points, but I don't remember what the name of each of those points is, so I don't know where in this map this is going to take me. I have some issues around that, but nothing game breaking for me on that front.
I haven't found it difficult. The only thing I will say is if I am exploring, there's 2 avenues to explore. Like one path takes me down this way, one path takes me down this way. I will go down one of those paths until I see an expedition flag. Then I will turn around because that's probably going to be your encounter area.
Sure.
Because that's your save point, right? That's your refresh point.
One of the helpful tips that like one of those videos gave me was the critical path is almost always lit up. there will be like lamps
Yeah.
or stuff guiding you down the critical path. So that does make it easier to be like, okay, well, there's the lamps. That's what's taking me. So there's probably a boss fight at the end of that path. So let me take this other fork in the road, go explore it, see that. Also, like there was when I first found what are they? Are they paint cages?
Yeah, the paint cages.
Yeah.
The ones you have to shoot the locks.
First time it was like, you have to shoot 3 locks. I'm like, okay, what the fuck are the locks? Like, what? And I'm just kind of like circling around this cage trying to find what the hell I'm looking for, what I'm trying to shoot.
Oh, you're looking on the cage to shoot it. I picked up. Yeah, I picked up right away on that.
It wasn't until like I looked around and saw, oh, okay, they're in and around the world nearby, but yeah, they're not directly on the. It was just like for as many other things as this game is tutorializing, that was just such a bare bones like nothing tutorial. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean by that? What are these locks?
I didn't struggle with that, so I can't speak to it. But I will say they don't show up enough that it's like that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've found like 2 or 3 others since then.
I think I've seen a total of like maybe 6 or 7, and I'm like probably almost through Act 2. So yeah, overall just like fantastic game. Like between this and Split Fiction, I'm just like, man, I'm swimming in like fucking 9s and 10s this year. It's crazy. Citizen Sleeper 2 at the beginning of the year. Like I'm just eating so damn good this year.
My year so far has been a very like every game's a little bit of a different thing. Like this being my first JRPG of the year, really. But yeah, compared to all the love I poured into Blueprints in the last few weeks, and just the roguelike puzzle game of that one. Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii was just a fun action game. Civ 7, with all of its faults, I had a lot of fun with that, and it's one that I like want to get back to and revisit. And then 2 Point Museum being like the museum sim game. It's just like, yeah, it's been a while. And then like one of the games I will get to play before my Game Pass subscription wraps up for this month will be Doom: The Dark Ages. So
yeah, dude.
Nice first-person, crazy Doom action shooter.
Oh, I will say I am sad this did interrupt my Doom Eternal replay.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
There you go. Like Avowed, when I get to that one.
Yeah, I did drop off Avowed. I'm done with Avowed. Sure. At least for right now. I might go back to it later in the year, but for me, it just like it was no longer hooking me, and I just wanted to try other things.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a nice, diverse swath of games at the beginning of this year.
Yep.
I haven't jumped into it. My plan, if I do jump into it, will be much later in the year. But now that Ghost of Yotei has been announced, who knows if I'll actually jump into Assassin's Creed Shadows? Because my plan was I'll get it when it's on sale, Black Friday or something like that. But Ghost of Yotei coming out October 3rd. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to pour so much time into that game.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is looking like my summer game this year. Like my game to kind of tide me over in the summer.
Yeah.
Because I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think I have anything big for me coming out this summer.
Yeah. Split Fiction, obviously, was another one.
Split Fiction for me is like out of nowhere for me, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see here. April, May, Dune Awakening, and that's all they have for Open Critic. Game Informer's back, which means they also have brought back the
actual good game release calendar that we all liked. Yeah.
That might just be the best thing about Game Informer coming, outside of the employment for our friends and for the folks over there who are just really, really good folks. Shout out to Alex Van Aken for continuing to just be one of the sweetest guys in the entire world.
Yeah. I mean, I will agree that like Doom: The Dark Ages coming out in May is like the last of the big games I have before kind of we start hitting those summer months. But a lot of it is also like, I guess like.
Oh yeah, you got the Switch 2 coming.
There's going to be the Switch 2, so I'll have Mario Kart Tour, I guess, or Mario Kart World.
I will not. So I have openings for that,
and then maybe Bonanza. Well, I'm just, like, if we really want, I'm sure we could play Mario Kart World together.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
we can put it on the big TV out in the living room and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the next thing for me is probably going to be
the Donkey Kong Bonanza, probably also in there if I bother throwing into
August 28th. Delta Snake Eater comes out, so that'll be big for me. Let's see here. Trying to think of. Oh, of course, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 coming out in July. That will also be a big game for me as well. Trying to see if there's anything else. I don't give a shit about Borderlands 4.
I don't really, but I might play it. Who knows? It'll be one, especially if it's like, hey, surprise, we're putting it on PlayStation Plus or something like that. Then I might spend some time with it. I don't imagine Gearbox is going to do that. So it'll probably be one that just kind of sits quietly.
Oh, no, wait. A Coffee Talk Tokyo is going to be coming out. So over the holiday, I played the Coffee Talk games, and I got really into them. So the fact that there's a new Coffee Talk game coming out, I'm kind of stoked. Okay. No date for that release yet, though. Oh, Demon School is also coming out this year, so I'm super freaking stoked for Demon School. It's shout out to the head of development over at that studio over there for being super cool on Blue Sky.
All right.
Yeah, overall, I'm looking over it here, and yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for me this year.
I mean, there are a lot of games that
are unannounced.
Will probably get like release dates here in the next, couple months. Like there's a lot of stuff where it's like people I think were probably gun shy around the Switch release date. Like when's that going to come out?
And gun shy about the
GTA 6 obviously is the big one. Which is like that's the biggest thing I loved about the Ghost of Yota. It just like dropping, and being like, hey, we're putting out on October 3rd.
We're planting our flag.
We don't we don't care even if Grand Theft Auto 6 does hit. Sure.
Totally different games.
There's not going to be a ton of crossover between Ghost of Yota and GTA 6 players.
By the way, Brandon Sheffield is the creative director over at Necrosoft Games. Shout out to him being just like really cool.
Cool. I'm keeping an eye out on Date Everything coming out June 17th.
Oh yeah, that's what's coming out.
That'll be a fun one. Got just a ton of voice actors in there.
Can you also date the game itself?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you can date
everything, right?
You can date the bugs in the game.
It's so weird.
They teased that, or they joked about that.
That's so weird.
Because originally it was going to come out February 14th. And in their like delay announcement, they were like, "Hey, we need a few more, few more months to polish the bugs and stuff like that." But yes, you can date the bugs, and it's kind of like a Missing No style character.
Makes sense. Okay, that's so goddamn weird. That game's so weird.
Matt Mercer is a dateable D20, I believe.
Yeah.
Travis Willingham is a dateable jock. There's a ton of fun, just silly goofiness in there. I forget who Ben Starr's in there, but Ben Starr's obviously.
I think he's a lamp or a fridge or something like that.
Yeah. Lots of fun stuff ahead still to come this year. But so far, right now, we are just going to continue enjoying Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and the great work that team has put into the game. So, all right, yeah. It's going to wrap us up for this episode. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
I want to give a massive shout out to the upcoming Andor episode of that D Plus show that we have coming out this week. I'm super stoked. I finished Andor episodes 1 through 3. We're going to try to get through episodes 4 through 6. We'll see if that works out for us. Should we have plenty of time? It comes out on Tuesday. We have all Tuesday night and Wednesday to watch much, and also like Thursday during the day. Sure. Now that I live here again, it can just be like, oh, I finished watching them. Let's go record the podcast. Yeah. We're back to that. Not me. Hey, what time works for you to come over on Thursday? We have that going for us at least.
Yeah.
So.
You can follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. I will shout out, in addition to the Andor one, you can catch our thoughts on the first couple episodes of Doctor Who's second season on this last week's That D Plus show. And then also we'll be wrapping up our Split Fiction playthrough this week on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/thatnerdysite. You can find parts 1 through 4 already there on the channel. There's a playlist out there and everything. So go check out all of that in the week ahead. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.